So I'm going to show you a technique now with the Chinese zodiac collection of stamps. I've got set 1, set 2 and set 3 here. This can be done with any of these, but I'm going to be using set 3. This is the one that has the ox, the tiger, the rabbit and the dragon. Now you don't need too much to do this technique, but it is really beautiful when it's finished, and it can be done on a card or it can be done separately and then cut out and put somewhere on a project. So I'm going to be using the rabbit stamp, which I've got here, and I'm going to be using some Stays On ink. This is optional, so this just helps the design to show up a little bit more. And I've got some gold embossing powder and my heat gun here as well. So what I'm going to do first is pop my stamps to the side and actually pour some gold embossing powder directly onto my card. And you want quite a bit of this. So I'm going to pour it in roughly the shape and the size of the stamp there, making sure there's quite a bit. You can pick this up, so make sure you've got a paper or a card that's quite sturdy, not so thick that the heat won't go through it, and just use your finger and spread that around until there's a nice even layer. Bear in mind when it's melted it will all flatten out and smooth itself out. So I'm happy with that. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take my heat gun and actually heat from underneath. So this will take a little while before we start to see the embossing powder melting, but once it does, it's very quick. Be careful of your hands. Use some tongs or something if you need to. Once the powder has melted, you need to work quite quickly. You can keep warming it up from the top to keep it melted. I've applied my stays onto my stamp and I'm very quickly going to press that into the melted embossing powder. So here we'll need to press down on this for a little while, just until that powder cools. So once that's like so, we can turn this over and make sure it's all pressed in. This will be warm, so be careful, but it won't be too hot. And then we just need to leave that to cool. It will cool quicker if you leave it upside down because the heat can escape through the paper. Once you're happy that this has cooled, you can carefully peel away the embossing powder and the paper from the stamp. Do this very slowly so as not to damage your stamp. Clean your stamp up, and there you have a beautiful gold gilded image that you can use as a bit like a wax seal or as an embellishment. You can cut around this and make it a perfect circle if you want to as well. But I can clearly see in there that we've got our little rabbit in there and the flowers and all the other detail as well. So there's a nice fun antique looking metal badge.